Hello and welcome to Meridian High School Assembly for Monday the 20th of September 2021. I'm Mrs. Watson, and through this assembly we explore our core values of learn and respect. So feedback from a previous vote topic: should exams go ahead in 2020? You can see the vote here is 68.7% no and 31.3% yes. And I'm very pleased that our comment has made it onto the slide this week. That means that our views are shared with all the other votes for schools in England. Exams create anxiety and need to be rethought. Too much learning has been disrupted for exams to go ahead. Teachers know their students and what they are capable of better than any examiner could by looking at a one-off piece of work. Students should be assessed as a whole with coursework and a built-up portfolio of working. And a comment from Brave Academy: I believe that teachers know the students the best and can give a more accurate picture of a student's ability. I strongly think coursework, portfolios and achievements should be considered. View for yes. Exams give students an opportunity to show teachers and students what they have learnt and what they have not. This helps students know what they need to work on. And from the Stanway School, there is no reason not to have exams because every year 11 across the country is in the same position. Everyone has the same experience, so there's no disadvantage. So your opinions were shared with some organisations, and they had this to say. Ofqual is the organisation that oversees all qualifications, and CAF Jadhav, Acting Director for Research and Standards at Ofqual, said this: exams are the best way to assess what a student knows, understands and can do, and they can set students on the path that leads to further study, work or an apprenticeship. I wish students the very best with their studies this year. And then for Militia Drummond, who's the founder of Team Tips, who votes for school and we will be doing some more work for later this year, it's great that so many of you chose to vote on this topic. We think it's interesting to see the difference in attitude to testing between junior and senior school pupils. Ideally, we all need to learn how not to fear exams because they do provide the fairer system. That said, wherever possible, we believe exams should be combined with other forms of assessment, such as coursework, to allow all types of learners to show their ability. We agree that this year's students need to be given special treatment to account for the different access to learning they've had over the past 2 years. And a spokesman from the Department of Education had this to say: exams are the fairest form of assessment and we intend for them to take place next summer. Alongside Ofqual, we have already set out proposals for next year's exams, including information about topics and exam aids that can recognise the disruption the pandemic has caused to education, and we will confirm those plans early this term, so look out for that. So take a minute. Out of the opinions I've just read to you, who do you agree with, and is this different to how you voted originally? So your voices were also heard by the exam board AQA, as I've said, Team Tips, Protective Approaches, the Co-op Academies Trust, and the Department of Education. So what's been in the news this week? Winter is coming. The government has revealed their plan A for tackling COVID-19 in England over the winter. However, they also have a plan B if the NHS begins to struggle. Protests on the road. Activists from Insulate Britain caused huge delays by blocking the M25. The group wants the UK government to insulate houses to help reduce CO2 emissions. Game, set and match. 18-year-old Emma Raducanu became the first British woman in 44 years to win a Grand Slam tennis final when she won the US Open on Saturday, the 11th of September. Schools out for Williamson. Education Secretary Gavin Williamson has been sacked following a reshuffle of the Prime Minister's cabinet. Mr. Williamson said the job had been a privilege. So our thought of the week this week is: who works on global issues? So I want you to reflect. What links all of the images above? You have about 1 minute to guess. Okay, time's up. All of these are linked to the United Nations, commonly referred to as the UN, the focus of today's assembly. The UN was founded in San Francisco in 1945. Originally, only 51 member states were included, but today there are 193. The work the UN does is based on the ideas in its charter. Its overall goal is peace, dignity, and equality on a healthy planet. The current Secretary General Antonio Guterres is the ninth person to have this role and was selected in 2017. We're now going to find out more about the work the UN does. As you've just heard, the United Nations is made up of 193 member states. It is the one place on earth where all the world's nations can come together, discuss common problems, and find shared solutions that benefit all of humanity. Finding a solution that works for every nation and the people that live there is not always easy. For example, the UN recently called for £437 million in aid for Afghanistan, and over £720 million has now been promised. However, how much of this will go towards the UN appeal is not yet clear. At the moment, it's not possible for aid workers, people who work in countries facing crises or emergencies, to get into Afghanistan easily. The UN has asked the Taliban, the current group in control of the country, to allow these workers to get in and out without being put at risk. While the work the UN is doing around Afghanistan is especially important at the moment, there are lots of other things that they work on. The work they do can be split into these 5 main areas: maintaining peace and security worldwide, defending and keeping international law, delivering aid to people, protecting human rights, and supporting climate action. Do they or don't they? You're now going to see some world issues and decide whether the UN helps with these. If you think they do, put your thumbs up. If they don't, put your thumbs down. So our first one is preventing conflict, war from happening. If you think the UN helps with this, put your thumbs up. If you don't think they do, put your thumbs down. Show what you think now. So this is part of the UN's work in maintaining peace and security worldwide. So thumbs up for this one. What the United Nations says is the United Nations plays an important role in conflict prevention. How it works: the UN has senior representatives called special envoys in lots of countries who support this work. Next one to vote for: running elections that are fair and open to all. Thumbs up if you think the UN helps with this, and if you don't think they do, put your thumbs down now. And it's a thumbs up. This is part of the UN's work in protecting human rights. Since 1992, the UN has assisted more than 100 of its member states with electoral support. How it works: while the UN can help with elections, each country is responsible for organising them. Our next one: keeping track of health emergencies worldwide. If you think the UN helps with this, put your thumbs up now. And if you don't think they do, put your thumbs down. And this is part of their work in delivering aid to people. So the World Health Organization, abbreviated to WHO, is the guardian of global health and is part of the United Nations. The World Health Organization works across borders to find solutions like vaccines and shares this information with the world. Creating targets for how to build a more sustainable world. If you think the UN helps with this, put your thumbs up. And if you don't think they do, put your thumbs down. This is part of the UN's work in supporting climate action. The Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, were adopted by the UN in 2015. These 17 goals build on lots of past work by the UN and are an urgent call to action for all countries. Settling arguments between countries. If you think the UN helps with this, put your thumbs up. And if you don't think they do, put your thumbs down now. This is part of their work in defending and keeping international law. The International Court of Justice settles arguments based on international law. The court is made up of 15 judges who are elected by 2 other parts of the United Nations. The examples you've just heard about give a tiny snapshot of all the work the United Nations does around the world. In fact, the UN has over 37,000 employees who work in 15 different agencies. And this is from their president, Antonio Guterres. We want the world our children inherit to be defined by the values listed in the UN Charter: peace, justice, respect, human rights, tolerance, and solidarity. As you can see, the UN's work is focused a lot on creating a world in which future generations can thrive. But how can young people get involved with the work of the UN? You're about to find out some of the ways you can find out more about the work of the UN or get involved yourselves. If you think this is something you'd like to do, why not discuss it with your peers or teachers? You might have heard of Model United Nations, but what exactly is it? Model UN is when young people take on the roles of real people and organisations in the United Nations. This can be for just an hour or sometimes for days. Essentially, it's a chance to put yourself in the shoes of world leaders. Model UN has been shown to help with skills such as empathy, knowledge of current affairs, and an ability to see things from a different perspective. So it's a lot like what we do with Votes for Schools. Want to give it a try? I'll be sending out a link for this so you can have a look about how you'd like to get involved. So, did you know that UNICEF stands for United Nations Children's Fund? UNICEF works in 192 countries around the world, and Afghanistan is one of them. They've been working there for over 65 years, and their main aim has been protecting the rights of women and children. On their website, UNICEF suggests following their social media accounts so that you can amplify stories from young people from Afghanistan. You can also find stories on their website. And if you want to find out more, again, I'll send out the link, and there's a range of stories from Afghanistan that you can read up on. Now, if you think you'd like to work for the UN in the future, look no further. As you read today, or as you've heard today, the UN is a global organisation, meaning there are jobs in countries all around the world. But what kind of people do they look for when hiring staff? Their website says that they want people who are keen to make a difference to the world, have hope for the future, and are honest, adaptable, and creative. Could that be you? And if you want to find out more, visit the UN's career page. So make sure that you vote this week in your Votes for School session on Tuesday. The very latest those votes need to be in is Thursday, so we can contribute them to Votes for School and get your voices really heard. So we're going to head over to the next slide this week to find out what we're voting on. So this week you will be discussing, should the UK do more for Afghanistan? And here are some views to get you thinking, ready for tomorrow. This is about the people of Afghanistan. If we do not help, what future problems could happen? Financial help is now crucial to avoid further damage to Afghan society and organisations. The actions of foreign governments has led to this. Perhaps it's time for the Afghan people to control their future. And in the last 20 years, we have spent money and lives intervening in Afghanistan. Can we really do more? So don't forget to vote tomorrow and share your opinion with the rest of the Votes for School community. Thank you for listening. Have a great Monday and a great week.